Hi folks, welcome to the Politico Chat. It's Monday, March 21st. I'm Alexander Trowbridge. Today we have stories on the domestic politics of U.S. involvement in Libya, from Capitol Hill, where both Democrats and Republicans are voicing concern, to the Trail, where potential 2012 hopefuls have little positive to say about the president's handling of the situation. For more on these stories, we're joined by Politico's Glenn Thrush. Glenn, let's start with the domestic politics. President Obama is traveling in Latin America. He's directing military action over in Libya, but one of his biggest obstacles might be the domestic politics of this issue. You mentioned in your article that this is a political gamble. Why is it such a gamble?
Well, first of all, the response to this has not exactly been one of universal acclaim. You're getting a lot of tepid support, even from members of his own party. You had a bunch of liberals up on the Hill over the weekend who talked about the dubious constitutionality of him moving ahead with this without their approval. And then I think really strikingly on Sunday afternoon you had House Speaker John Boehner essentially telling the president that he's going to need congressional authority if he wants to move forward. And I think sort of the coup de grace was Dick Lugar, the Republican ranking member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, who was sort of Obama's Linus blanket with Republicans on the Hill, really essentially withdrew support on this and said, A, that he wants to know how we're going to pay for this, and B, that he wants a much more thorough explanation for why the president undertook this.
We had better get this straight from the beginning, or there is going to be a situation in which war lingers on, country after country, situation after situation, all of them on a humane basis, saving people.
So when you put that all together, there are some benefits a president always gets in terms of public opinion when you go to war, but there's so much skepticism right now and so much fear about having another Iraq or Afghanistan that I think the perils at home are in some ways for the president just as grave as the perils abroad.
What could go wrong? What is the risk here?
Well, there are a lot of risks. First, we should say that from Friday to Sunday, when operations began, there was a lot of talk that sounded like regime change coming out of the White House and senior administration officials. By Sunday night, a lot of that had cooled off. You had Admiral Mike Mullen, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Secretary Gates both saying on late Sunday that we're not looking to take out Muammar Gaddafi, that we're looking to protect innocent civilians and perhaps support the no-fly zone, but that this is not about regime change. If that is the case, then this could be a fairly short involvement, and indeed Gates has said this will take only a week. But when you start firing 130, 140 cruise missiles into another country, when you start doing overflights, as the U.S. has begun doing on Monday over Libyan airspace, any number of things can occur. You could mistakenly target civilians. You could incur, as we are seeing on Monday, some angry words from some of your partners in other parts of the world. And what happens if an American pilot is shot down or taken hostage? What happens if TV and media crews are taken hostage on the ground? What happens if these massacres that we are attempting to prevent occur despite the overflights of the airplanes? Any number of these scenarios could pull us deeper into this based on the principles that the president has thus far articulated. And I think what we're going to see over the next couple of days is a hardening of those lines both on the Hill and in the White House.
Glenn, as we do look at the 2012 hopefuls and we see how they weigh in on this issue as it develops, can we see hints of how their foreign policy will develop on the trail and what they'll be campaigning on in the future?
Well, I think absolutely, and my colleague James Homan has a good story up today talking just about this. He asked a bunch of candidates, and a couple of them responded, most notably Newt Gingrich, who made, I think, a similar argument that Dick Lugar has made, that where do you stop with this? We've seen the leaders of Bahrain and Yemen fire on their own people. We're starting to see the leadership in Syria taking violent action against their people. And do you go from dictatorship to dictatorship to dictatorship? I mean, Gingrich pointed out, and I think it's an interesting point. You have Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, who's still sitting there, who has a record of oppression and sort of driving his economy into the tank. So, if we're going to go state by state by state in terms of these interventions, what sets of priorities do we have? Another potential 2012 candidate, former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum, I think is taking a much more conventional Republican line, and one I think you are likely to be hearing a lot more of, and that is the president simply squandered the opportunity, and if he had opted for the no-fly zone 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the rebels would already be owning Tripoli, and Muammar Gaddafi would be elsewhere.
Glenn, thank you for coming on the show.
Cool.